Right then, Bob. So first thing we can see, obviously, looking at this setup, quite a bit of change there in terms of spine angle. As much as it's quite a bit of a change, if you actually look at where you are there, how much your spine is probably tilted, it's not that much, is it, compared to what it feels like, obviously, because what feels to you normal is kind of this shoulder kind of being more leveled off, and again, with a 7-8-9-9, that's okay. But when you go to the longer clubs, these are designed to be a slightly more of a sort of a shallower hit rather than kind of going that way, yeah? The angle of attack into the golf ball is going to be dictated by your sort of spine and shoulder angle. If you get too tilted, even though you're swinging more around your body, your angle of your body is going to create that angle into the golf ball, and being too steep with longer clubs, 3 and 5 woods, etc., to make it tough. I think with a driver, you'll naturally tilt yourself back because the ball's further forward. But when the ball's on the ground with a 5 wood or this 3 wood, that's where you're going to, I guess your sort of cut-off could be a hybrid, which is like, what, 23 degrees, 22 degrees, you think? Which you're beating well, it's got a bit more, yeah, oh, fast, so 5 is probably more 26, 27, so you've got a bit more loft there to play with. Obviously, if you take loft off a golf club, it doesn't go very high. So the only way the ball goes up is if you open the club face. When it goes in the air, then it just spins off to the right there. So the last one there, we said getting the spin down, that wasn't the best one in terms of the shot as a contact, but the spin was closer to that 1,000, even if it felt really weird. Now, you stood there for 20 seconds stiff, which sometimes goes to show if you stand even in the right position for too long without moving, you hit a bad shot. So always sort of fidgeting around trying to get yourself in the right position. You may get there. If you've been stood still for too long, you're going to hit a bad shot anyway. So getting that spine angle slightly more tilted. Now, grip-wise, this is a better grip. If you look at those two there, okay? It's a little bit blurry there, but what we're trying to see now, when you look at a reflection or in a mirror, you want the little groove that your thumb and forefinger make here to go towards that right shoulder, right forearm area, okay? Your right hand's pretty good, okay, in terms of that position, but your left hand, we need to see these two knuckles at least, if not 3, okay? And the little V here, this sort of crease that you can see your thumb and forefinger make, that line now is going to go up to more on the right shoulder. If it gets too much towards the chin or the centre of your chest, when it returns back to its more natural position, which again, when your arms hang, the left arm does hang in this way. It doesn't hang this way, it does turn into your leg more so. So getting in that more neutral grip, getting that slight spine angle. But in terms of the actual movement, good hip turn, okay, as you can see, you turn that right around nicely, okay? So you get a much flatter angle. It's then staying behind the golf ball here with your body, which is great. So you've got your head behind the ball there now, and the spine angle nicely tilted, okay? As you then swing through, it's then just letting yourself rotate through without having to sort of sway too far. If you go beyond your left foot, your top half is swaying too much. And it's that amount of lateral movement that's going to make it very, very difficult. And I think initially, because you felt so much back here with your head, you were trying to kind of get through too much, yeah? And sometimes when people try and transfer the ball, try and get to the ball more, they end up swaying their top half too much. Your top half doesn't really want to move that much. The lower half shifts the weight to target. So if I'm facing you now, as I kind of shift from here, so I turn my hip, my head's going to stay back here, but my lower half is going to move this way. Now with obviously the hip we discussed, it's a movement you're better at making. Obviously now more of a stable hip joint there, etc. So this movement now, it's not kind of this way. Weight shifts not with your torso, your top half and your head kind of going whoop and lunging through. And you can see there's quite a little bit of head movement there in that swing. And again, if there's a pivot point up here when you're starting, okay, if that's your kind of pivot point up there, if that's moving a long way side to side, your consistency level is going to be all over the place. The golf swing is obviously a rotational movement around a centre point. We want to try and maintain that as best we can. Yes, after shot you will come through a little bit, obviously, but if you're kind of moving outside your left foot there when you go through, I would say that's a good hip turn. You said nicely behind the goal, but you stay back here. That's good strike. It's now just rotating around that, not trying to sway quite so far. Ideally speaking, I want your kind of finish position to be more in there, as your arms now just kind of fold over your head, or fold over your shoulders, so I say. You just keep sort of moving and swaying a bit far that way, which is why you see your balance now is a bit, and that's going to just put more undue pressure on your body. I mean, if you're finishing like this all the time, it's going to hurt your left side, and the hip's going to be a bit more under more undue stress. So just a bit more kind of centered. I mean, a visual someone's told me years ago, imagine you're swinging a golf club in a phone booth. You just stay inside the middle of the phone booth. Your arms obviously take away, but just your rotation's going to keep you inside that kind of boxed area, yeah? You don't want to be sort of swaying this way or swaying that way too much, especially with the top half. Lower half does shift a little bit, which you're doing nicely, okay? But we don't have too much top half sway. It just stops the club from sort of squaring up, because now you're leaning on it too much. Like I say, with shorter clubs, 7, 8, 9, 9, You can get away with it a little bit, and I think because it's a shorter club, you're not putting so much effort into it, so your top half's not going to be swaying side to side so much, is it? Just these longer clubs, you're trying to maybe give it some oomph. You throw your top half to try and hit it further, okay? So slightly more tilted at setup, Bob. I would use a mirror at home to try and get that reflection, try and build the setup into that, not just, oh, here's what I used to do. Because if you go from that position to that position, you'll feel very strange. As much as that isn't much of a tilt in comparison to kind of that position to that position, that's a sufficient amount of lean there to sort of feel uncomfortable. So don't try to go there and then revert to this right hand one, go straight to that one. Use a mirror sort of reflection to see how you look. I think often how you look and how you feel will be very, very different initially. Over time, once you start feeling more comfortable in this sort of angle position, it'll just become more and more natural to you. So whether you've got reflection or you just do the whole phone, say, record this, record a setup and ping it through to me. How's this looking? How's the grip looking? Okay, check that grip. I say that's the thing. The two knuckles there's definitely got to be seen. At the moment now, I wouldn't suggest you can almost lean too much because obviously your knee might pinch it if you go too far, or be too strong in the grip. Okay, as you progress through that, it becomes more comfortable. You can get into that stage, but at the moment now, get that left hand a bit stronger. Look where it's gripping through the fingers, not through that sort of pad of your left hand where the glove's rubbing. Get yourself set up better, and then we can make it the same. Your swing's looking really good, really, really good. There's a lot of good things in your swing. I think next session we'll definitely on the golf course and have a look at that and just see how that sort of movement sort of playing out there. But scores are showing you're hitting the ball nicely. You're just sort of pushing through now to try and get down to that lower mid-teens that we can get to, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.